What stands out really from those statements, and I want to get in Maroof Raza immediately here, the comprehensive global strategic partnership. That's where we are at right now. Prime Minister Modi, perhaps, correct me if I'm wrong, says it was my idea and I've decided to take it to that level. I believe that's the first talking point. We have others as well. Your first impressions?
Well, India has strategic partnerships with about 22 countries. The US certainly has a special place in those partnerships because we've been, in the last several years, upgraded to a position of a major defense partner. India is allergic to the word ally. So therefore, the Americans have not used the word
Maroof,
ally.
apologies. Let me just stop you for a second. Back to Maroof. Apologies there because I cut you off mid-sentence. As far as defense and security are concerned, there was discussion on that. Energy, of course, Sunja was telling us about. Tech, connectivity, trade relations is still, I believe, a bit of an iffy issue. I'll circle back to that as well. There's a homeland security deal. And there's cooperation on that front as well. The drug and opioid crisis, which is one of Trump's favorite subjects back in the US. Of course, he's now going to go ahead with some sort of mechanism to tackle that here in India as well. It's an interesting number I'm throwing at you right now. Total energy business between two countries for the past few years has been $20 billion. That's a positive here. And not to say the least, Wilbur Ross and Piyush Goyal have come to some sort of a quote-unquote understanding, a positive understanding, that they've now agreed to start negotiating on some sort of a deal for the future. What jumps out of all of that and hits you right away?
Well, I'll first talk about the deal because I got cut off when I was trying to explain what a comprehensive strategic partnership means, but I'll come to that later. As far as the deal is concerned on trade deals, you see what the point that America is missing is that it's looking at India either with a prism that it looks at China, or it is looking at India at a prism through which it looks at a number of countries that are developed and have a more higher per capita income. The central point that we are emphasizing on is, firstly, our per capita income is about $2,000. America's is $60,000. So it's really bullying us into doing more.
There's no comparison. There's no comparison.
Yeah. So the second aspect is that in terms of trade, India has been very rapidly reducing its imports, the import gap from the US in a way that earlier we were having a trade benefit with them vis-a-vis about $22 billion. This is rapidly coming down because we are taking in more from the US than we are pushing into the US market. So there is the trade element, and when eventually we come to some kind of a level playing ground on bilateral trade being about the same numbers is, I think, when the dream will get struck. But what the Americans are forgetting, that by incorporating India, they could have the biggest Indo-Pacific trade arrangement that India could offer to America that no other country can offer, because there are a lot of existing arrangements the Americans already have with others. Coming to the comprehensive strategic partnership, you see, earlier strategic partnership was always understood in most cases with countries like Russia, for example, in how much you'd go forward on military strategic issues, whether it was weapons, space technology, etc., etc. There are 3 or 4 areas where India is looking to engage extensively with the Americans. One is in space technology. Second is, he talked about 5G, but 5G is almost sealed up. Whether it's the Chinese or Japanese or Korean, one of them is going to get it. But we are looking at Americans coming in with 6 or 7G. The third area, which America wants to revive and must kickstart, because they actually ensured our entry into the nuclear suppliers group, that the nuclear partnership between the two countries should give America and nuclear exporters of civil technology in America greater benefit. So there's a need to go over the stated line. And fourth and most importantly, America, the weapon systems that Mr. Trump has talked about, we are also looking for some more weapon systems like drones, which could be easily manufactured in India and give us the kind of edge that America had over Iran or other countries have with others, because tomorrow is the battlefield of the
Let me
drones.
just quickly also go around the panel. Dr. John Harrison has connected to us now. Dr. Harrison, I hope you heard what President Trump and Prime Minister Modi had to say. Along expected lines for you, I've been saying this a lot. Trump seems to be, at least is perceived to be, a very transactional kind of leader, and that's how he does his politics around the world as well. And he has certain favorites. Prime Minister Modi currently happens to be one of them. Do you believe that India has gotten something tangible, concrete, as far as our expectations are concerned, or do you think it's kind of tepid response, as the other school of thought seems to think? What are your views on it?
No, I think both nations benefited from the discussions. There was certainly more that came out of the announcements today than I think had been leaked, certainly in Washington. But the one that everybody will be focusing on clearly is the security and the energy relationship that are going to benefit both countries, both in terms of not just the sales, but remember, strategically for the United States, if you want to isolate Iran further, you don't have to get India to make any political statements. Just have India stop buying energy and have a permanent replacement for the energy that was being consumed from Iran. So that right there is a huge strategic change. And I think that's probably being slightly underplayed, but I think that's very important. More broadly, certainly the strategic relationship on the conventional side, the weapon sales and that are important, because both India and the United States have a view of China as, at the very least, a strategic competitor. What that means and how that's going to unfold over the long term will be, both nations will have a very important role to play in that. Will it be confrontational? Will it be violently confrontational? Or will it be something that many countries have, economic and cultural exchange and competition, but it won't devolve or spiral into some violent actions? And certainly, just looking briefly regionally, with the United States transitioning from a very active presence in Afghanistan.
I'm sure our viewers will recall that the height of the latest Iran-US tensions, India, in fact, was, let's use the word, arm twisted into buying less and less oil from Iran. They were, of course, one of our main suppliers. At one point, we completely stopped all transactions as far as the energy sector is concerned with Iran.